So when you come here for training, I wish that I could give you this form, but I can't. The college in Ontario insists that you ask them for the form. So you have to phone them and say, I'm changing my scope of practice and I need a mandatory questionnaire. And they will send you by email this thing. This is the most recent version that I have in 2014. So not that complicated. This whole thing is meant for doctors in Ontario, which means that you'll have your CPSO register number. So you have to write that down along with your CPSO number and your mailing address. So far, so good. And the question here is, are you registered with College of Family Physicians? And this person has circled yes. So you can circle yes or no. And then the Royal College of Physicians, yes or no, and whatever specialties. Okay. List of hospitals that you're affiliated with. It could be 0, it could be a few. What is your practice status? I certify the information is correct and complete. So all of these questions are pretty darn self-explanatory. Now, here's the part that gets important for people who are taking this course. So here is type of anesthetic provided to cosmetic patients. So you have to be a little cautious about this one. The anesthetic that I teach you here at the course is local anesthetic. We're certainly not putting anybody under a general anesthetic, and we're not doing procedural sedation either. So you might be specifically locally infiltrating around the infraorbital nerve, but that's still local anesthetic, so tick that off. Type of personnel that you work with on a regular basis. You can answer that one. Practice address, and they're giving you space if there's more than one practice address that you work at on a regular basis. Okay. What percentage of your clinical time do you spend doing this or that? So if, for instance, when I was doing Emerge and vein sclerotherapy and Botox fillers and so on, anti-aging medicine, and they don't give me room for all that, so I just attached a separate piece of paper and I said, okay, I'm doing administrative work for 20% of my time, I'm doing Emerge for 20, I'm doing Botox fillers for 20, I'm doing training for 20. So you don't have to use this particular form, you can just attach your own. Okay, here's the really important one. So we've got basically an A list and a B list of things that the college is interested in. The A list, you see how it says A1, A2 and everything? They want to know at each one of your practice locations whether you're doing any of those things. If you tick off anything on this A list, and I'll show you the B list down further here. Let's look at the B list. Okay, so if you look at the A list, it's all surgical stuff. Do not, under any circumstances, tick off anything under the A list unless you're a surgeon and doing surgical procedures. If you tick off anything on the A list, then that automatically makes a practice review necessary, and in office, you have to have a surgical office suite and so on. So it's a big deal if you tick up something on the A list. But really, if you look at the A list stuff, it's all surgical. If you look at it and you think, oh, well, yeah, I kind of am doing that, then before you tick it off and send it in, think twice. Am I really doing what they're saying? So for example, it says under A9, it says brow lift. Well, we're doing a brow lift with Botox, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about a surgical brow lift. What else is there? Lip implant. Filler is not a lip implant. It's a temporary hyaluronic filler, right? So the one that comes up here is A34 is mesotherapy. I'm not doing mesotherapy anymore. It doesn't belong in the A list. Don't tick it off unless you're doing it and you're prepared to support the fact that you're doing it in the right environment. So let's go to the B stuff. So what I find comical about this is that clearly whoever wrote this list doesn't know much about fillers, because they have trade names in here. For example, B18 is Juvederm. Well, but then they've also got Hydrofill, Hylaform, Dysport, like those are all trade names. What they should have down here is B23 is Neuroblock. That makes sense. So let me go through the list. You can tick off B7 for Botox, B8 if you're doing chemical peels, All the B's are good, remember. B11 for dermal filler. So they should only have dermal filler in there. They shouldn't have Juvederm and like the trade names. Anyway, you're going to have to take it off. B11 for dermal filler. B12 for Dysport. I would tick that off so that it gives you the opportunity to do Dysport if you want to in the future. Hydrophil and Hydroform are trade names. We haven't taught you that. If you tick off IPL hair removal for B17, interestingly, suppose if you're doing IPL, then technically with the CMPA, so our insurance board, if you tick off IPL on this, then you have to pay extra insurance with the CMPA. Don't ask me. It's a much higher risk procedure because of the burning, which is interesting because estheticians are buying IPLs and doing them all over the place. But just be forewarned, if you do tick off IPL hair removal, that puts you in a different category for CMPA. And I'll do another video on CMPA. Okay, you have to tick off B18 for Juvederm, even though you already said dermal filler up above. Laser hair removal, that does not put you in a special category for CMPA. Light-based hair removal, which doesn't make any sense, so it could be IPL. Light-based and IPL are pretty much the same thing. Microderm, microsclerotherapy is sclerotherapy, that's what they're trying to say. Neuroblock, I believe, is a trade name, but really the generic term for the whole Botox thing is neuromuscular blockade, right? So I think I would tick off B23. Polaris is a trade name for something. Radius is a type of filler. Restylane a type of filler. So I guess if you're using Restylane, you should tick that off. Thermage is an expensive form of radiofrequency, not a laser, but machine. So those are trade names as well. So I'm going to highlight for you here which are trade names and which are generic names, and give you an example of what I think you should be ticking off. Okay, what does your practice structure look like? This is pretty obvious. Do you have 911? Okay. Name and details of training program. All they want to know is that you've come to Martin's Training Center for Botox and fillers training and when it was done and how much time it was. I have been in contact with these people in late 2014 at the college in Ontario, and they are very certain that the Martin's Training Center course satisfies the requirements for changing scope of practice for the college in Ontario. Okay. Any societies you're a member of? And so I'm starting the Canadian Society for Aging and Metabolic Medicine, and that would be a good spot to record that. Continued professional development, you can do that, and I certify that it's all true. Okay, so here it is. Fill in your practice information, what % of time you're going to spend doing various things. Don't tick anything off on the A list. Tick most things off that you're going to be doing on the B list, recognizing that it's redundant. And be careful when you tick off laser stuff, especially IPL, because the CMPA will put you in a higher, more expensive level if you're doing either IPL or laser resurfacing. This form from the College of Physicians and Surgeons is a long way from perfect. The person to contact is Lisa. I think I will phone her and help her make this form better.